We are looking at a very critical topic, but before we go into that discussion, let's which members of the Nigeria Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Today, 1966 was the first time we saw the incursion of military into politics. We wish them Armed Force Remembrance Day, and of course to the fallen heroes, we wish them, Armed Force Remembrance Day as we celebrate our military today. But talking about the topic we're looking at today, it also involved military too, because we saw some retirees from the army protesting last week, specifically on Tuesday, with regards to the delay or non-payment of their retirement benefit. Of course, pension administration in Nigeria have experienced inconsistency in policy due to its many challenges since inception. Of course, with delay in payment of pension and gratuity to deserving retirees, and of course, fair lack of accountability, poor leadership, embezzlement of pension fund, inaccurate pension records, and of course, gross incompetence on the part of some pension administrators. It's part of the reason why we're having this issue as well. I'm being joined in the studio by someone who is very strong in this sector, a pension administrator, Dr. Imran Saheed Adekunle. He's the pension management consultant. Glad to have you on Business Daily.
Thank you so much, presenter.
All right. So let's begin with the regards to issue in the pension sector. Last week, like I did mention, we saw some retirees from the military, retired military officers. I mean, it's unheard of that people who have served Nigeria, who have laid down their lives to serve this country, cannot get what is due to them.
Thank you, sir. Let me just start from the history of pension management before 2004, so that we're able to know where we were, where we are, and where we are supposed to be.
Absolutely.
Before 2004, 2004, Nigerian pension system was marred with a lot of irregularities, with a lot of inefficiency, due to the fact that there was, in fact, it was highly unregulated and poorly managed. But with the establishment or with the enactment of a pension reform act 2004, specifically June 2004, then we were able to have what is called the Pension Reform Act 2004. We gave birth to National Pension Commission, PENCOM, for the regulation and supervision of a pension industry generally in Nigeria. With that, we were able to have an improvement in pension administration and management in Nigeria. Likewise, in 2014, Pension Reform Act 2014 also led to the establishment of some pension agencies, such as Pension Transition Directorate, PTAD, as well as other institutions whose employees were exempted from contributory pension scheme, such as military officers, DSS officers, judicial officers who have now become retired. So with the establishment or with the enactment of a Pension Reform Act 2014, we were able to have them excluded from contributory pension scheme. That is, they were kept under defined benefit pension scheme for the payment of their retirees. That was also an improvement. In 2025, if you look at the improvement in 2004, in 2014, now 2025, I think what the pension industries will look at is also an improvement, because the only room that is still available open in the world is a room for improvement.
Indeed. Talking about a room for improvement, you've made mention of some agencies, and I also know that you wrote a book with regards to advocating for effective pension administration and management in Nigeria. There, of course, you talk about several other jurisdictions there. What motivates you into taking that decision, and into writing the book, and how do you think pensioners can access that book to address some of the challenges that you're beginning to mention?
Thank you, sir. One of the reasons why the book was authored by me was the issue of improving the pension system in Nigeria. As I initially said, there's a need for improvement in pension, administration and management in Nigeria. So the book was written in order to bridge the gap in pension administration and management. When you look at the reading materials available generally, we have reading materials that are so scanty, infinitesimal, when it comes to the issue of pension, not only within the context of Nigeria, but also other clients.
The pension and the benefits.
Yes, understanding pension administration and management in the contemporary world. Because the book did not actually discuss only pension system in Nigeria, but some other, but together with some other clients. We're talking of some countries in Africa, in Europe, in America, and Asia. So the book actually, specifically address the knowledge gap when it comes to pension. The book enables the reader to actually know the history of pensions generally, then the computation of pensions, because one of the agitations from pensioners is how their pensions are computed. But with the availability of that book, you'll be able to know how your pensions are computed, which will actually reduce any complaints relating to underpayment, overpayment, or short payment, and all that.
And do you think putting that kind of content in a book in a country where we hardly read, do you think that is the right way to go? For let's say for pensioners who barely read, who cannot really understand. I understand many of them went to school, they can actually read actually. But for those who cannot read, how would they assess the content?
Thank you, sir. I think it's a very good question. But I would like to disagree a bit that a pensioner or an employee will become retired without being able to read or write, because at the beginning, or when you are entering into service, there was entry requirements. At least primary school leaving certificate was supposed to actually be obtained by an employee before being employed into service, so which would have made the person to be able to read and write. However, if a pensioner has such challenges of reading and writing, then we have a provision, or we have a plan that we want to put the book or the content of the book into audiovisual, so that
which make more sense.
Exactly. So that they can watch it like movies, they can play it. In fact, if possible, with your support, we can have it on Netflix, we can have it on Trust TV for them to be viewing anytime. We can even be doing it on a periodic basis, so that maybe chapter 1, what does it address, then how are we going to put it on audiovisual up to the last chapter.
Indeed, a very good one. Let's look at the issue of pension payments.
Okay.
And of course, the delay, and of course, some as far back as last year, if I'm not mistaken, there were reports that pensioners earn as low as 1,000 naira. That was very poor.
That was very. You are right in a way, but thank God for this current administration. That era has become a history. No pensioner is earning as low as 1,000 naira again in Nigerian pension system, because there was a consequential adjustment of 2019, which actually improved the minimum pension receipt by any pensioner. Then there was also a circular in respect of pension review or pension increments with effect from 1st of January 2024, which is called 28% pension increment. Down, if you are on grade level 1 to 16, then you have 20% on top of whatever you are earning. If you are of grade level 17, you have 28%. So that one has also boosted pension payment.
Payment, indeed.
Then apart from that, in fact, the current administration also did fantastically well by also giving another pension increment. We did that same 2024 last year, which is 32,000 across board. So when you had that 32,000 to whatever, if you are earning 1,000 before, and they had that 32,000 with this 28%, with consequential adjustment of 2019, you discover that the issue of earning 1,000 has become a history in Nigeria. None of them earns as low as that again.
Indeed. What about those who don't earn at all? Those who are protesting. Let's talk about them. Those who went to the Ministry of Finance to demand that their payments should be paid, that their retirement benefit and gratuity should be paid. Those who demand that PENCOM should be scrapped. Those who are calling for the establishment of police pension board. You are in the industry. You've written a book about pension. You work in the pension industry. You are a management consultant. What is the critical problem that is delaying pension payment in Nigeria?
Thank you so much, sir. I think we should understand that pension scheme, or let me say pension system in Nigeria is now categorized into basically two. That is defined benefit pension scheme and contributory pension scheme. Defined benefit pension scheme actually handles those retirees who left service on or before 30th of June 2007, and those that are now in service from 1st of July 2007 to date, they fall under contributory pension. So we have that cutoff period. So if you fall under the defined benefit pension scheme, your pension payment will be obtained through allocation from federal government. So if the allocation doesn't come on time, then it will call for arrears, or it will call for a delay in payment of your pension. But under contributory pension, it is what you contribute that at the end of the retirement period you earn. So there shouldn't be any delay. But we have two legs of that contributory pension scheme too. A leg from the employer and also the employee. So if the employee remits his own through his employer, and the employer does not remit what to come from his own end, 8% from the employee, 10% from the employer. So if the 18% is not complete, then no PFA will want to pay you. So if the employer does not remit his own portion as and when due, then definitely it will delay payment of a pension to such retirees. And those are the reasons why we have such delays or complaints from pensioners.
Okay, that's clear enough. Let's talk about the pension assets. The devaluation of Naira has affected pension assets. If you have 3, 4, 5 million Naira in 2023, the value of that money has declined. What is the impact of this on the beneficiaries? Because what you can do with 3 million Naira 3 years ago, you can't do it anymore.
Exactly. Thank you so much, sir. If you look at pension fund assets, they are called assets under management of PFAs. If you look at 2023, we had 18.4 trillion. Although we had the Naira devaluation or current Naira depreciation, which is also called the currency devaluation in that 2023, which actually eroded the pension fund assets. But if you look at the first quarter of 2024, there was a slight improvement. And from second quarter of 2024 to end of 2024, then we have an improvement. In 2023, we had 18.4 trillion. In 2024, October, we now had 21.92 trillion, which is about 22% increase or improvement when compared with the previous year's assets. So which means the challenges, the economic challenges in terms of Naira depreciation and even inflation were short-lived. And that's one thing with pension is that it's a long-term investment. So whatever economic challenges that affect it will only be outlived, will only be temporal, while over time the pension will still gain its way back. What I mean is that since it's a long term, when the economic challenges actually leave the neck of the pension, then definitely it will recover. When it recovers, then the contributors to pension will gain later or over time. So long-term investment is pension, and economic challenges are always short-lived. They are always temporal. So there will always be a recovery from such economic challenges. And you can see it from the statistics I mentioned. In 2023, 18.4 trillion. In 2024 October, now 21.92. You can see the improvement. You can see the recovery.
Indeed, gradually. But let's look at outlook for 2025 as we begin to wrap up now. The year has begun already, and of course, we're beginning to move in the course of today. It's already 15. We're halfway into the month of January. So what do you see at the end of this year with regards to pension administration in Nigeria?
Thank you so much. I would say that the pension industry is still bright in terms of performance. Is still optimistic in the sense that in the year 2024 we had an improvement over and above, because in the year 2024, even towards the end of 2024, we didn't have something like a currency devaluation. In fact, the expectation is that this first quarter of 2025, the inflation will moderate. When inflation moderates, then definitely it will not have any effect in terms of erosion of pension savings assets, pension funds assets. It will also not, weaken the purchasing power of pensioners. So we can see that the day is still bright in terms of performance in respect of pension fund assets for this year, first quarter 2025, because there's no any expectation there will be a naira depreciation.
All right.
There's no any expectation there will be a rise in inflation as we had in the previous year.
So you are talking about the forecast for this year.
So
now.
Let's be optimistic.
They are looking good. Yes.
Exactly, but let us actually look at it by way of a wait and see approach. That is, we cannot conclude now until we have end of this year. But what we have seen currently is that there is a light at the end of the tunnel in terms of this first quarter 2025 pension fund asset performance.
Right, indeed, let us be hopeful. Let's, in 30 seconds or 60 seconds, tell us about the target. What do you think the new PENCOM DG? Well, he is no longer new. He's been there for some months now. What do you think she should focus on in this 2025?
Thank you so much. What the PENCOM DG should focus on is diversification. If you want the pension fund assets to perform better, then you need to diversify by moving from fixed income instruments to variable income instruments such as green bonds, such as infrastructure investments. So this will actually, boost even equity, private equity or domestic equities should also be, invested in, so that this one will now improve or enhance the performance of a pension fund asset in the year 2025. Thank you so much.
All right, a very good way to wrap up there. Of course, the PENCOM DG should look towards investing more in the capital market. Exactly what you're trying to say. I must thank you, Dr. Imran Saheed Adekunle, pension management consultant. He's also a writer. He just wrote a book with regards to issue around pension. We'll be bringing you here to tell us more about how those books can be accessed by pensioners. I must thank you for your time on Business Daily.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it.
All right, with that is a wrap on the show today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Yusuf Akogun.